We are asked to graph the function, identify the y-intercept, and identify the domain and range. And where is the function? It's right here. Y is equal to 3 to the power of x. This is an exponential function. And they tell us to use the x values of -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. So we have this chart. We have the x values filled in. We have our function in the center column. Y is equal to 3 to the x. And we are to work out what is y so that we can create our ordered pairs. So for the first one, we have y is equal to 3 to the power of -2. Right. The second one, we have y is equal to 3 to the power of -1. For the third one, we have y is equal to 3 to the power of 0. Y is equal to 3 to the power of 1, and y is equal to 3 to the power of 2. So let's go ahead and evaluate the first one here. We know that if we have a negative exponent, that we can make it positive by moving it from the numerator to the denominator. And so we can do that by adding a 1 underneath the 3. And this is going to become 1 over 3 to the power of 2. And we'll go ahead and evaluate that to 1 is over 9. Right? So let's go ahead and look at the second one now. We have a negative exponent again, so we can put a 1 there as the denominator. And then since we have a negative exponent, that term is going down to the denominator, so we'll have 1 over 3 to the power of 1. And any number to the power of 1 is just that number, so it's 1 over 3. 3 to the power of 0 is 1. Any number to the power of 0 is 1. Right? And then over here for number 1, and when x is equal to 1, y is going to equal to 3 to the power of 1, which is just 3. And then when x is equal to 2, y is going to equal to 3 to the power of 2, which is 9. Okay, so we figured out all of our y values for these corresponding x values. What do you do now? We go ahead and create our ordered pair. It's going to be -2 is our x, and 1 over 9 is our y. The next ordered pair is -1, 1 over 3, like so. The next one is 0, 1, x and our y, 1, 3. And the next one is 2, 9. Right. So now that we have all of our ordered pairs, we're going to come over to our graph and we're going to graph this exponential function. We'll start with the first ordered pair, -2 on the x and 1/9. So I'm going to put it right there. Right. The next one we have is -1 and 1/3. So 1/3 is about right here. The next one is 0, 1, right here. The next one is 1, 3. And the last one is 2, 9, right over here. Okay. So you can see we have this curve going upward. And I'm going to try to draw this as carefully as I can. It's going to look like that. Oh no. It's going to look like that. Right? We have this upward curve. And so this is a exponential growth function. Right? You have an upward curve. And we are asked for several things. We are asked first to graph the function. We did. Find the y-intercept. And what is the y-intercept? It is where the graph crosses the y-axis. So our y-intercept is 1. So identify the y-intercept. It is 1. Identify the domain. And remember, the domain is the x values. Which x values are included in this graph? And you could see here, it's not clearly obvious, but this line here is getting as close as it can to 0, but never reaching 0. And it continues on that way forever, right, to -infinity. This curve over here increases, right, continues to increase, but it also continues to move to the right this way on the x-axis. So for this graph, the domain, which is what are the x values that are included in this graph, are going to be all real numbers. All real numbers from negative infinity to positive infinity. Okay. And we want to identify the range. The range is what y values are included in the graph. And like we said, the graph approaches 0, but it never reaches 0. Approaches but never reaches 0. Right? On this side, the y's continue to increase on to infinity. Okay? So for the range, we're going to say all real numbers greater than 0. And that's it, right? And we want to probably remember that domain or the x values, and then the range or the y values. Okay. But that's how we complete these types of problems.